Hello and welcome everybody to the very first episode of MoDXtra. That's right, MoDXtra. I'm Chris, otherwise known online as the True Mr. Six, and with me I have Andy.
AKA Maverick.
Maverick indeed. And we are two massive man-children nerds who are here today to talk to you about being man-children nerds.
Oh, it's a different intro.
Well, yeah, it's got to be a different intro, isn't it? Because it's like, well, that isn't. I don't know if that's going to be the intro. That was just something I thought of right there and then to fill the air.
To be tweaked.
Yeah, to be tweaked. We'll work on that. But yes, welcome everybody. So I'm Chris and he's Andy, and we are the MOD, and this is the MoDXtra podcast. We are going to be talking about our lives. I mean, genuinely, actually, I mean that line fits. We're just two massive nerdy man children who are here to talk about being nerdy man children.
Yeah, we are absolute nerds.
Yeah, so we're going to be jumping in and joining what I'm pretty sure is a fairly slim niche market. I don't think there's many people doing this sort of content out on the internet.
What, like every man and his dog?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think we're probably going to be we'll stand out as pretty specialist and separate from the crowd.
Well, if you're with us, hi.
Yeah, welcome, absolutely. Now, I suspect we might have some people coming over who are joining because they're fans of the Ministry of Dice, and we should explain that for anyone who's happened across this and doesn't know us from our other endeavours in the world of podcasting and content creating, shouldn't we, really?
Yes, we should. Do you want
I was just going to dive straight in. Andy here
Hi.
is the UK National Champion, Dice Masters UK National Champion 2017, and we met as both fans of that game, and through our passion and love of Dice Masters, we started doing some podcasting and some YouTubing around the game of Dice Masters. Hence, the MOD stands for the Ministry of Dice. However, in that whole kind of experience of getting together and content creating, we spend an awful lot of time talking about all sorts of stuff in our world of nerdiness. So we create this podcast around this game that we love called Dice Masters, but we felt like we just had more content, more chat in us to get out there. And we enjoy doing it as well. I think that's at the heart of it. We find this really fun.
Yes. Yeah. So if you're listening or if you're not listening, it don't really matter. Hopefully you are. Hopefully you'll like it. But
yeah, but we, in essence, the stuff you're going to hear us go on and talk about, we genuinely, legitimately talk about. And by the end of the episode, you might say, do they really talk about that? Trust me, we do. We absolutely do. Even the last segment of this episode, we really do talk about these things.
Yeah.
And so we decided to just give it a crack and see whether we could produce something in the kind of world of our wider interests. And so we're called MoDXtra because the MOD, we're still kind of maintaining some part of that brand we've created for ourselves around the Ministry of Dice from our Dice Masters related content. But I think we've shortened it, obviously, and called it MoDXtra, and we'll probably largely refer to ourselves as ModX or the Ministry when in the non-Dice Masters world.
And I forgot to ask, because this is on the YouTubes, can we swear?
Well, we could always swear on the other stuff, really, if we were so inclined. It was just more about audience accessibility, really.
Okay. So can I swear or not?
Well, let me ask this. Do you want to swear?
I was going to give the stock answer. Not now that you've angled it towards if I do or not. I don't know. We'll see. Will you use the beep if I accidentally say a naughty word?
I mean, that's an option. I can do the beeping. I suppose it would depend how much beeping I end up subsequently having to do.
Okay, cool. Well, let's see how it goes.
I'm largely not bothered. You won't offend me.
Okay, cool. Let us know in the comments, because we are doing this solely on the YouTube, on the MoDXtra YouTube channel, with all one subscriber that we've got at the moment. So yeah, leave it in the comments. Let us know. That's what YouTube was saying. It. Leave it in the comments.
Leave it in the comments. Yeah.
F's in the chat.
Yeah. So we should maybe tell the folks a little bit about ourselves, shouldn't we?
We should. You go first.
You want me to go first?
What do you want me to go first? You've already said my exciting things.
Have I?
Yeah, I'm a Dice Masters National Champion 2017.
Oh, sorry.
That's it. That's
because I'm so proud of you for it.
Oh, thank you.
it's a point of great pride. My association with the UK national champion 2017 Dice Masters. You know,
It is. You go first. You're the gob.
I'm the gob. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know where to begin, but in the United Kingdom, based out of Manchester, and I suppose my largest contribution to this particular podcast is going to be the comic book stuff. I'm a big comic book fan. Love DC and Image Comics in particular, although I do read a bit of Marvel as well. And I've been reading comic books for decades, as many of you out there probably have been doing also since I was a kid. So that's going to be my main contribution. And one of the segments that we're going to have as part of today's episode is going to be driven by my love of comic books, although hopefully you'll enjoy the little twist we've done on that. But outside of that, I'm a pretty standard man-child nerd. I love movies, not just nerdy movies, really. I watch a lot of films. There's only one genre, really, that I don't go for, and that's probably like your shock horror type stuff.
That's funny. I don't like horror either.
Do you not?
No.
I mean, I'll watch a good kind of thriller-y horror, or my wife likes spooky stuff, and we watch a bit of spooky stuff, but I'm not into the kind of shock horror-y stuff. Does that, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like Saw 1, ooh, this is interesting, this is intriguing. Saw 2, what? That's
okay.
that's the way to qualify it. I'm not into jump scares and bangs, but I do like having my head messed with. So movies, and I'm a big music buff as well. Massive fan of kind of retro sort of classic rock music.
And the Beatles.
Which if you have a look at our logo, I love the Beatles. If you have a look at our logo, there's the two faces there, and the face that represents me is the one with the kind of retro handlebar stash and the big aviator glasses, in acknowledgement of my, well, as I've referred to myself as in the past, a decked out retro wizard type.
Cool.
And that's me. And then you'll get to know more as we go along, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. This sounds like the first day at work, or when you meet up in some kind of like group training session. Hello, my name.
Right, guys, it's time for we're going to do a round of 2 truths and a lie. This is the icebreaker.
Tell us something interesting about yourself, and then you're like,
I have placed a list of questions on the board. You're all to take 2 minutes to write down and answer those. Interview the person next to you, and you can introduce them to the rest of the group.
See, that's the funny thing. You've led them, and I've had to endure them.
I have. That's right. Yeah, professionally, I am a training person.
Yeah. Do you
it's
like?
Been a very long time since I've done that stuff, though.
Did you used to do it just to annoy people? Because it doesn't work. It just makes people feel uncomfortable.
No, I don't. Honestly, like legitimately now, I've stripped all of that stuff out of any of the work I do in that space. Don't do it at all. No stupid exercise. Right, everyone get a ring from the corner of the room. Like, we have 6 canes, or all that stuff. Can't be doing with it at all.
I had a job interview once, and did you know, like at school, when you had to make the thing to hold the egg?
Oh, yeah.
It was a bit like that. We had to make this tower. We had to make the tallest tower possible just out of paper. Like,
paper and straws or something, yeah. Like, yeah. And it doesn't actually tell you anything about the aptitude and competency of the individual that you're interviewing. Or certainly not what you're looking for. Don't even start me on that.
Anyway, hi, my name's Andy. I'm 40-year-old and I'm from Southampton in the United Kingdom. I like long walks on the beach and I've got a good sense of humour.
Well, now you've made it like a dating video.
Yeah, I know. I've just made it worse. I've taken it right down that avenue. Cool. Yeah. So I'm Andy. If you're listening, this is our first one, isn't it? We're only going to get people listening that have listened to the MOD. So
probably.
So you already know who I am. My favourite things in the world is, other than Dice Masters, is old school 80s and 90s movies. I love anything to do in the past because I live in the past because it's safer to live there than look forward and into the future. I've sat in the same room that I'm in now for about 6 months. It's nice.
I know.
Really empty the bin though because I got told off for that today.
I developed a very special relationship with this chair.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Not as special as the relationship I have with your mum, though, of course.
Hey. I thought that might have died with the new podcast, but no, still there.
Well, I can only speak the truth.
Fine. So that's where I'm from. That's what I'll be talking about mostly, along with whatever else springs to mind. But we've kept on that as our strengths for this first episode, see how it gets on, and then I'm sure we'll wander off into all things interesting. Or not.
Do you know, this is a bit clunkier than we definitely have got a rhythm down on the on the Dice Masters one that we're struggling to find right now with this one.
Don't divert off track.
Well, maybe that's what we should do. Just go wildly off track and just just do an hour of wildly off track. Yeah. No, we have some form of structure. So let's put an end to this painful ice-breaking experience and actually get into some content, shall we? And tell the listeners what we've got coming up in this very first episode of MoDX.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so we are going to move into what we like to do. To begin with is have a bit of a chat like, what have you been up to? Which is our spin on nerdy news, really. What have we been watching? What we've been listening to? What have we heard on the grapevine? What have we been playing on our consoles? Whatever, really. It's just very open, free-form kind of conversation to talk about what's going on right now and what's caught our eye. Once we've concluded that, we'll move into Andy's Retro Corner. He just talked about his love of 80s and 90s movies and retro things and living in the past, and so we're gonna give that some space and time on the podcast and have a little bit of a chat about a movie that Andy has selected this week for us both to watch as a kind of a revisit, rewatch kind of thing, and we'll talk about the film. Should we mention what the film is now, or should we wait until the segment?
Depends. It'll be in the description, won't it? Or will it?
I can put it in. Yeah.
Let's keep it as a surprise.
All right, yeah. Well, we'll have that as a surprise then in a moment. And then in acknowledgement, as I said before, of my comic book love, we're going to go into Chris's comic book corner, where we're going to talk about... I've challenged Andy to read a comic book, because you're not as big of a comic book guy as me, are you?
No, I've read a few, but not really to any massive in-depth. I've seen a few, but nothing as much as you. So I'm getting my training.
Absolutely. So that's the twist on that. So I've challenged Andy to read one of my faves. Then we're going to have a bit of a chat about that fave and see what Andy's kind of new eyes bring to the conversation there, rather than my
old eyes.
I don't know what the word is. Older eyes, yeah. And then finally, we are going to essentially talk about a Facebook post that you saw the other day. That's it. Andy saw a Facebook post. He messaged me about it. We started talking about it, and then we said, we might as well make this the segment. So look forward to that one. Yeah. We're going to talk about Facebook posts. Right now, people are sitting nervous. A Facebook post? Is this about to get political?
No, it's not.
Absolutely not. Well, it might do.
Oh, you never know.
Yeah, people do take these things very seriously.
And then we'll sum it up at the end. Yeah,
absolutely. So without further ado, let's get on with it, shall we, my man?
Let's see where this takes us.
Yes, welcome back then, folks. So this is, as mentioned, the section where I'm going to ask Andy, what have you been up to in the last 2 weeks, my good man?
Oh, it's exciting to talk about something more than Dice Master in a bit more depth. So I won't speak about that because that's what we do on our other podcast.
Indeed.
I have been gorging myself on some films and movies, which
nice.
Really nice. The Boys. So The Boys on Amazon. I don't know if you've watched it yet. I promised myself that I wouldn't watch it until they were all out, and then failed and just devoured each episode as and when they released it. And that is one of the best series I've ever seen. I loved it. Really enjoyed it.
Very good, yeah. I agree.
With a lot of these things, because I've not read the comic books, and it'd be interesting to see the other way around, but I think all the characters are new. I haven't got any hang-ups. I don't know kind of anything about them. And usually with something like The Boys, which has got quite a lot of history and depth to it, the characters are really well filled out, and you can tell that the actors have got that to draw and everything else. And it's just really good series. Like, if you've not seen it, then definitely go and watch the first one, and then go on and watch the second one. The opening scene of the first one is enough to just give you an idea of what's going on. But yes, I watched that.
Hang on, I'll just jump in there. I think the second season is better than the first season. But just to answer your questions about the comic book, they have strayed a great deal from the storyline in the comic book. They're following their own path.
Oh, okay, because that's what The Walking Dead, they did that as well, didn't they? And I think you have to, else you just get bored.
Well, I know you say that about The Walking Dead. I know you and I have talked about this before. I started watching The Walking Dead and packed it in because I've read the whole Robert Kirkman run all the way up to its conclusion, and I was finding just even with new characters added exclusive for TV and slightly different ways of telling the story. I was finding I just felt like I knew a little bit too much about what was about to happen. I was waiting for things, whereas The Boys, very early on in season 1, it became apparent that even though they've used it as a source material inspiration, they are forging their own path. Although, the original writers, Garth Ennis, the original writer Garth Ennis is still very heavily involved in the show, from what I understand.
So how far did you get with The Walking Dead then?
On the TV show?
Yeah.
Oh, now you're asking. Maybe season 4?
Oh, okay, quite a way in. Because I watched it, and then I read the majority of the comics, although are they still being released now?
No, well, they're done. The story came to a conclusion, although interestingly enough, they're reprinting them all now in colour.
Oh, okay.
That just the first issue came out last week or the week before as we're recording. This month, I suppose, as the listener hears it. So, yeah, it's done. They brought the whole story to a conclusion. It had a finite ending. In fact, Robert Kirkman, interestingly enough, didn't tell anyone. They didn't tell anyone it was going to end, and they just ended it.
Oh, right. Oh, that's cool.
So a few people will get. They even put fake. In like the preview, the comic book sort of preview websites and stuff. Yeah. The publishers all have a kind of coming next month, coming next week kind of pages, and they show the covers and things with a little blurb on it. They even put some fake covers and some fake blurbs up, so people didn't clock it, and they just kind of ended it. I had no idea. I wasn't expecting it at all, and I read the last issue, and then Robert Kirkman has his. It's quite common in monthly installments of a comic book. You get like the letters page and notes from the editor, notes from the writer kind of pages and stuff. And he just said, "Yeah, that was it, folks." Like, everyone was like, "What?" But it was a really good ending, actually, the way they ended it.
Cool. Well, don't give that away because people will be cursing us. But when we finish recording, you have to let me know what happens because I can't be asked to watch all those episodes or read anymore.
Sure.
I got tired of it as well. I think I made it to season 4 or 5. I have to admit, what I used to do is I used to fast forward through the series because the zombies jump scares used to do my nut in. So I used to fast forward it through large chunks. But I thought they diverted it quite a bit. But I'm very interested.
Yeah.
Definitely want to read some of the boys' comics now to see how it changes. Because I've read like the first 1 or 2 comics and it doesn't seem that much different. But then I'm guessing that then it goes drastically off course. Like there's certain things you want to see. There's certain things you want to see as it starts, I suppose.
Yeah, it's the setting of the scene and what the relationship is between the boys and the superhero characters, because that's the starting point of both the comic book and the TV show. That at its heart is the same, and the characters, the sort of who they are and what they represent is so Butcher is Butcher and a very similar character in both. Huey is Huey and very similar character in both. But the events as they're unfolding are unfolding in significant different ways.
Cool.
Like all this stuff in season 2 with this church of what they're called.
Do you want a fresco?
That's that bunch. That's happening in a very different way.
Cool. So anyway,
to my recollection,
I binged that. And just literally just kind of hear it every time it came up. I've finished off The Runaways as well, which is on Disney Plus, which is a Marvel comic. I think you're right. So there's 2 seasons on Disney Plus. So I came through those really quickly. Really enjoyed it actually. So that was good. Cool. Watched the Han Solo movie, which I hadn't watched, and I've been wanting to watch it for ages. That was on Disney Plus, so watched that. Thought that was really good.
Did you like it? I like it a lot.
Proper, like, just a standalone kind of crime caper based in Star Wars land with a famous, character. Quite like that.
And it felt Star Warsy.
Felt Star Warsy, but it wasn't a Star Wars kind of story. It wasn't defending a world from the Empire. It was just in that world. Yeah, it was really well done. I liked it.
I'm going to throw the cat right among the pigeons. Early doors, straight out the gate. First episode.
Oh.
I think Solo may actually be my favourite of all the new Star Wars.
I like all the new Star Wars just added in there.
Yeah, I want to be very clear on that. Yeah.
Cool.
My favourite.
It's like a heist movie. Just,
Yeah,
instead of set in Las Vegas or, in the Wild West, it's set in Star Wars. Worked really well. So enjoyed that. I watched Shaun of the Dead last night, which was very
brilliant.
cool. Massively dated, though, when they're using their Nokias to speak to each other. There's little things like, look at this. It's like, oh, look at that car. And it's just like a really shitty old Jag. But nonetheless, it's very cool. I tried watching Spaced off on a tangent.
Really?
I didn't like it.
I love it. What, you're joking, aren't you?
I don't know. Maybe I just missed the time frame from it because it is so.
Phantom Menace is a big bag of shite.
It's so 90s. It, which I know usually I like, but I don't know. It just seems a bit.
It wasn't out in the 90s, mate. I think it was later than that, into the early noughties.
Really?
Yeah.
No, maybe I need to watch. Maybe I wasn't
actually,
in the right mood.
That. There was all that stuff about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and stuff on there.
I think, it screamed kind of. I don't know. Didn't get on with it. Maybe I need to try it again. But enjoyed that. Then on to console gaming. Been playing some Apex. Played some Apex with you, which was nice. Although we are struggling with the whole streaming thing. Need you to get a PlayStation desperately.
Nah.
But that's a topic from another day, I think.
That might hit more debate battle: PlayStation versus Xbox.
And then also the Avengers game, which I don't know if anyone else there would be out there would have played it. I really enjoyed it. Apparently, people are stopping playing it in their droves because it's not getting the updates that it needs to keep it.
Oh, people are so impatient nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, it's like back in the day, you played a game, it was the same game. You just played it over and over again, which is kind of what I'm doing with this.
Let me just check. Are these updates to fix bugs or these updates like to keep the new content train going?
Okay, well, it's twofold. It is buggy as you like. It needs some serious TLC on just some of the basics of it, where your enemy will get punched and then go through a wall, meaning that you can't reach it, but because it's not dead, you can't advance on to the next section. I mean, it's
that's old school.
I mean, it's quite bad. I mean, we absolutely battered Abomination, kicked him off the balcony out into the city. He fell, and then we were just chilling on a balcony. We had to restart it. So there is stuff like that, but also it's cool. It is quite repetitive. You have different kind of places where you land, which are kind of similar, and then you have different baddies which are relatively similar, and you sway through it, and then you get gear to power up, you level up, and it's a bit of a grindy looter, not really looter kind of brawly, shooty, fighty thing. I'm sure there's a better term for it.
That's in fact the genre that's officially listed on the back of the box for like in game stores and stuff.
But there should be an extra Avenger added every month, which you get and download. You can download for free. If you want to open their little mini battle pass that they've got, then you have to pay for it. But again, you earn the credits you need to buy it off of the battle passes of the 6 you already have. So yeah, you could pay for it, or you could grind through and level up other characters to earn those credits to be able to do it without putting any physical money in per month. So we are on the edge of our seats waiting for Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, who should both be dropping imminently. But people aren't waiting. They are impatient for some new content and levels and baddies and everything else, which hopefully they'll come very, very shortly. But I've been enjoying it. I've been playing with my mate Rob. We both bought it. We both sit down in the evening, have a natter whilst we're, being Iron Man or Hulk or Black Widow, and then just level up and get some stuff. So yeah, I've been doing that. It's been cool. It's quite. I don't know if I would still be playing it if I just had it and just played it on my own.
Sure, yeah.
But it's fun, and there's probably my highlights. Else I could keep on waffling on for 2 hours.
I can see that, or hear that, I should say.
How about you?
How about me? So I've watched The Boys. I'm all the way up to the end of season 2, excellent, like yourself, and I entirely agree with your take on it. It is a tremendous show, and I enjoyed the first season very much. I was waiting for the second season to drop, and I've enjoyed that even more, as I said before. I've also recently watched the 6th season of Community. Have you ever seen Community?
I've seen a couple of episodes. It's got the Asian guy from The Hangover in it. Is that the one?
Ken Chung, I want to say. Chung?
Yeah, he
Young?
was the on The Masked Singer, wasn't he? As one of the judges.
That's right. Yeah.
Really funny bloke. Yeah, I've seen a few. I've not kind of properly delved deep into it though. Good.
It's a very good show. Yeah, I really like it. Season 6 is often. I got the DVD box set for my birthday back in August, and I've just got around to sitting down and watching it. So I've completed my DVD set of that now. So I sat down and got that watched, and it is often considered the worst of all the seasons. There were a couple of popular characters that left, and they kind of backfilled them with these characters that weren't quite as good. But in the cold light of day, with some distance from the other seasons, just watching it, I was laughing quite a bit.
Nice.
So, what more do you want from a little 25-minute, sitcom-y thing? And I love how meta it is, and it very much appeals to folks like me and you with little in-jokes, like nerdy in-jokes and stuff. So that was good.
Don't know what you mean.
I've watched the Gangs of London. That was on Sky.
Oh, I haven't seen that for a while. It's got Leo DiCaprio in it, is that it?
No, mate. No. This is Gangs of London. You're thinking of Gangs of New York.
I am thinking of the wrong gang.
Yeah, you're thinking of the movie Gangs of New York by Martin Scorsese. This was Gangs of London, which was a TV show. It's made by what's his name? Tony
Hawk.
No, yeah, Tony Hawk. They're all on skateboards. These gangs are terrible. They're terrors with their skateboards. No, it's the guy who made the Raid movies. You ever seen the Raid movies?
No, you talked about that. I got confused with Raid Battle Legends, which is the advert that comes up every 2 seconds on YouTube and Facebook.
Gareth Evans is the name of the guy. Not Tony at all, Gareth. So he made the Raid movies, which I love. I love kind of Hong Kong, action flicks. I love the early John Woo and Chow Yun-fat kind of stuff. So I like the Raid and the chop socky craziness of all that. So I was interested anyway, but I was a bit kind of curious because I wondered how it would translate over. And Gangs in London is really, really good. I mean, the action in it is just intensely brutal, but in a way like the Raid is, very visceral and gutsy and like real sense of peril for the people who are fighting it out. It's a bit fantastical. They're all running around with their shooters. Got a shooter, get me a shooter. They've all got assault rifles and things, which I don't think is a very typically. Gangsters in British gangster stuff have dodgy shotguns that they've robbed off a farmer. Do you know what I mean?
Shotguns? What guns that fire shot?
Yeah. That's right, yeah. So that feels a bit funny when you're looking at London. You're like, well, I don't think you would see that. And there's a big shootout in the Welsh countryside, and I'm like, really? It jars a little bit in that sense. But however, in terms of the characters and the narrative, and even though it's a kind of crime drama thing, there is a bit of a sort of conspiracy theory bit that makes it a bit more appealing to the nerdy folk out there. So I really enjoyed that, and I'd recommend it definitely, especially if you liked Gareth Evans' kind of action stuff that he did on the Raid. And then there was one other thing I meant to mention. Mission Impossible 4. I watched Mission Impossible 4. Yeah, well, this happens to me all the time, actually, that I'll watch a film with a particular actor in it, and then I'll just sort of drop into a black hole watching loads of their stuff. I'll just get a taste for what they do, and I'll get stuck into it. And it'll become apparent why Mission Impossible 4 was the case. And Last Samurai, I've watched that too.
Binging on the cruise.
Yeah, so I had a bit of a Tom Cruise thing going on, yeah. Mission Impossible 4, all right. I mean, obviously the stunts and the action are good. Nothing will ever beat that first Mission Impossible, to my mind. I really love the first one.
Is that the one where he takes his face off? Then he's got the motorbike, and it's the Scottish guy who's the baddie.
No, that's the second one.
Ooh.
Although, funnily that you should mention that, because that's directed by John Woo, who I just mentioned is the Hong Kong action director, the Gun Fu bullet ballet guy.
Gun Fu, nice.
Yeah, that's what they call it. Well, he's got some great. You ever seen Hard Boiled?
Love that. Watch that loads. Brilliant.
Amazing. I keep meaning to pick it up on Blu-ray, but I've been reading the Blu-ray cut of it is not very good.
You noticed that they never run out of bullets in John Woo films? Never have.
They reload occasionally.
No, that's the whatever breather it is that they reload, but they've shot like 50 bullets out of their handguns, and then they'll just put in like a clip of 9 or 12 or whatever it is, and then they'll go.
No, mate. You're just not paying enough attention because of all the kind of bombastic action. You're missing the moment where they're reloading the guns.
No, I like it though. It's good.
Yeah, madness. So yeah, Mission Impossible 2. That is that you're talking about with the motorbike and stuff.
What's 1 got in it then?
1's the one where with the famous suspended from the ceiling stealing the computer disc scene.
Oh God, I've not seen that for ages. Right, that can go on
and
the list.
and the train with the helicopter chasing the train.
Yes,
that was a big.
It's got the British actor that nearly gets. He's the train driver. That British.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's got John Voight and the French guy. What's his name? He was in Leon.
Oh yeah. Oh, can't remember his name. Leon in Leon, wasn't it?
Yeah. Jean Reno, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I watched Mission Impossible and Last Samurai. And I actually really like Last Samurai. I've got a bit of a thing for. Well, at the moment, it's probably sounding like I've just got a bit of a thing for films, full stop, doesn't it? But I like a good historical epic, however fanciful it is. And I'm pretty sure Last Samurai is pretty fanciful. So yeah, that's my movies and TVs. On the consoles, I've been playing Animal Crossing with my children on the Nintendo Switch.
Nice. Bury that rubbish.
I'm already getting a bit bored of it, if I'm being honest. I'm already getting a bit bored. Now, you know this, and some of the listeners who've heard me complain about this in other content will know this, but there's a very frustrating mechanic where the first player to log into the game becomes this like premier character, the central player, and only that player can progress the game forward. So and my son was the first person to log into it, so I'm always waiting for him to progress the game forward. So if you want the best tools, if you want to start unlocking bridges to connect all the islands across your territory, and all the things that these kind of life builder games do, you want to upgrade your bed, put new rooms on your house, all that kind of stuff, I've got to wait for him to move it forward. And I think it's just an utterly ridiculous thing to do on a console that is clearly focused, like a family focus for the family to play together.
Sucks.
Does suck. And then Apex Legends.
Cool. We just need to get more games in on that. Get some nice clippets to add to this YouTube channel.
Indeed, yeah, indeed. Maybe so there we go. That's what I've been up to.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I've been up to. And then I'm looking forward to, I suppose, the new Star Trek starts on Netflix imminently. I'll probably check that out. Star Trek Discovery. Oh, okay. Although I don't know if it's kind of a thing I'm just watching to watch. I'm not sure whether I actually like it or not.
Is that like a new series?
No, it's third season now.
Has it got the guy from Quantum Leap in it?
So the guy who plays Sam Beckett?
Yeah.
Scott Bakula.
Whatever.
No, that's you're talking about Star Trek Enterprise, which ended like 10 years ago.
That's the new one, isn't it?
No.
Okay.
Oh dear, there's been 2 new Star Treks. You've had Picard on Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah.
Which has had 1 season. And then this one, Discovery.
That's not really Star Trek though, Picard.
No, and neither of them feel particularly Star Trek-y, to be honest.
I mean, it's good. I'm halfway through it, but it's not Star Trek, is it? It's Picard kind of. I suppose it's similar to Solo, isn't it? It's set in the Star Trek universe. It's got Picard in it, but it's more of a little bit of a like crime thriller edge to it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the distinction between the two there is that Solo it still has something of there's like a tonal thing in there. This tone still feels Star Warsy.
Yeah, well,
get what I mean.
Picard, the Star Trek-y tone.
I don't think it does. I think it's got the the phasers set for stun stuff going on and androids and what have you. But I think tonally it's very, very different. And I think Discovery is quite different tonally. I'll tell you what did capture the... Geez, did we need segments? Or did we just need to hit record and just start doing this?
Yeah.
The Orville, which is supposed to be like a comedy show, that hit the Star Trek tone more than any of the new stuff.
All right, you lost me because when I think of Orville... I think a giant...
I wish I could fly.
Yeah, green puppet.
Right up to the sky, but I can't.
That's very UK,
You can. Yeah.
You have to Google that if you're not living in the UK.
Tej will know.
Yes, he will.
Anyway, I'm going to give that a try. But the thing I'm most looking forward to this week is the Trial of the Chicago 7, which is a new movie on Netflix by Aaron Sorkin, who's a writer, director, did The West Wing, The Newsroom, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, Charlie Wilson's War. He did that Facebook one. What was that called? The Social Network.
Oh, it's
very
quite
good writer.
Deep, though, isn't it? It's quite intellectual.
Sure.
Sounds it.
I mean, it is. I mean, The West Wing and Newsroom are very political.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to have people shooting 50 bullets out of a gun in any of them that you've just mentioned.
There might be a riot scene, though. I believe it centres on a civil rights. An anti-Vietnam march in the late 60s.
Oh.
But I think there is a big trial element to it all. Well, I'm looking forward to it. It doesn't sound like it's your cup of tea.
Maybe I'll give it a go.
Sure. I think we should wrap up, though. We are clocking on a fair bit.
We are clocking on. We've got 3 segments to fit in yet.
Yes, we have. So we'll wrap that all there. Let us know in the comments, what have you been watching? What have you been playing? What are you looking forward to in the coming weeks? Anything that we've talked about there? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'm sure there'll be a few people picking up on my Star Wars comment about Solo.
Oh. Well, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting all
grief for that.
The Rogue. I can't even remember the name of the film. What's that one? The Rogue Squadron?
One.
Rogue One. Get all the. What about Rogue One?
That Rogue One was good, though.
No, it wasn't.
It had spaceships in.
Rubbish.
What? Moving on. Let's not get drawn back in.
Right, welcome back then, folks. And here we are. We're into Andy's Retro Corner.
Welcome.
Which was originally called Andy's 80s Corner, but then he said he wanted to talk about 90s stuff too, so we had to rename it to Andy's Retro Corner. Over to you, Andy, who's Andy's Retro Corner man.
Thank you very much. So my Retro Corner is where we talk about all things retro and old, just like me. We're starting off with movies. We'll see how it pans out and how we break things and spread our wings. So I picked a movie for us both to watch, and it's a cracker, an 80s super retro fest. And we're going to discuss it. Now, I think that the film is Top Gun, and it's amazing. I don't think there's anyone out there that's not seen it, so I'm not going to be too bothered about spoilers. So if you've not seen Top Gun, then to be fair, fuck off, you're in the wrong place. But you might want to, skip it. But no one's going to be in that. But like me, and maybe like Chris, we'll find out, you've probably not seen it for years. Like, I don't think I've seen this film since like the 90s at least, if not earlier. So although I kind of remembered what was going on, it'd been a good time. So it was refreshing to watch. It was lush to watch, actually. It was really good. What I've done is I've kind of put a couple of little subheadings, little things to discuss about it. But I challenged Chris to watch it. First off, I suppose we need to check, did he watch it?
I did.
And what did you think?
Well, so Top Gun is an interesting film. I've seen it in the last 5 years. I own it on Blu-ray. I have very fond memories of this film because my dad is an aeronautical engineer and he loved this film. And we watched it many, many, many times when I was growing up. And I just, that nostalgia that you hold for it, I hold for it too. But so much so, my dad used to take me to air shows, and he took me to see. I've seen an F-14 Tomcat. I met an F-14 Tomcat pilot in real life, and had photos taken with him.
Does it really have
a Top Gun guy and
2 people sat in it?
It does, yeah.
Oh, that was a question that I meant to Google before we started talking.
I've got a Top Gun Miramar patch. that my dad got off the guy, which is like a patch that they give to actual Top Gun pilots. So it made me laugh when you chose it, because I think you thought you were going to catch me in a retro nostalgia fest, but actually it hit upon a film that I have literally seen hundreds upon hundreds of times over.
Oh, cool. Oh, well, there you go. So we've got some deep insight coming from Chris then. Well, yeah, so we all know what it's about. It's amazing. you've got everything you need in an 80s fest. You've got fighter pilots, you've got topless volleyball, you've got some of the best jawlines I've ever seen.
And haircuts.
Ever.
Don't forget the haircuts.
Oh, and haircuts. And, you've got, the Russian bad guys, which is cool because in this day and age, it's the Brits that are always the baddies. So,
they don't actually ever say they're Russians.
But MiGs are Russian planes, aren't they?
Yeah, but they don't ever actually say, and MiGs as an aircraft are used by North Korea also.
Oh, okay. There you go.
That's a little factoid from Chris's dad there coming through him.
So, I mean, the idea is that we may be able to tempt you to go and it's off. You can probably find it pretty cheap, but to go back, rewatch it and see what your thoughts are, and then do let us know what you think. My topics, I've got a couple of topics because I remember watching that movie and thinking Iceman is a dick, right? Who's this dick? He's having such a go at Maverick. Maverick is the coolest guy in the world. Iceman, what a knob are you? And rewatching it, both me and my missus were like, Iceman's got a point there. And I don't know if it's just age.
It's true.
Like, he wasn't like...
You don't leave your wingman.
It's like, we're in the Navy. We follow instructions for the safety of others. You don't do that. You are dangerous. Why are you here? And then me and the wife were like, he's got a very good point. This Maverick really is dangerous. He can cause someone to die.
He's a maverick.
He's literally a maverick. And then the more we watched it, and then you actually see bits, like there's one bit where like you just see like Iceman look over and it's like Val Kilmer's literally showing sympathy. And it's like, I'm sure before you were a knob when you were looking over being mean, but actually you're being quite sympathetic. And he's like, you're really good, but you're dangerous. But you're a really good pilot. And it's like, whoa, I don't remember this at all. So that was my first point. Do you think so my question is, do you think Iceman is a dick, or actually does he have a point?
Well, I think he is a bit of a dick, but I think they're all a bit of a dick in a way because they've been they've been trained to view themselves as the absolute best of the best, haven't they? And so there's a certain amount of arrogance that comes with that. It's like getting all the best rock bands in the world's frontmen in a room at the same time. There's going to be something go on. You know what I mean?
Fair point.
Frontman syndrome, innit? So they're all a bit of a dick. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like that scene in the locker room where he's trying to commiserate with Maverick because Goose was, such a good guy, and he can't quite do it because they're all so macho and full of testosterone. But he means it legitimately, and he stays on that track all the way to the end because when they're on the ship and they're about to get into it with these MiGs, he says, "Look, Maverick's a great pilot, but is he the right guy? Because he's scary when we're out there," kind of thing.
And he doesn't want to engage.
Yeah, and you then realise it's not about the competition of being the top gun. It's actually,
health and
we've
safety.
got a job to do, and we need to be the best at it. Health and safety. Yeah.
Top Gun is a film about health and safety.
So yeah, absolutely, I agree. He's a bit of a dick, but he's kind of coming from the right place. And Maverick is actually probably more of a dick.
Yeah, I found myself going like, "Mate, you're a knob. Like, can we do a fly past of the tower?" No, you can't. I'm going to do it anyway. Like, why have you still got a job, mate?
Woo! Great balls, fat.
And he liked singing. So that was my first point.
Sure.
Another point I had was like they fall in love like pretty much immediately, like to the point where it's just like, "Hi, I've met you in a bar. Should we have sex in the toilet?" "No, I'm not going to have sex with you in the toilet." Oh, you're my teacher. I've seen a MiG once. Oh, that's quite interesting. Why don't you come around for dinner? I'm late for dinner.
Come around my house, yeah.
I'm late for dinner. All right, we've talked a little bit. I love you. It was like, whoa. We were both like, what? Where's that come from? That's a little bit out of the blue.
Yeah, I think that's just very reflective of 80s movies and the pace at which they clip on at. It's like we're following the formula. We need a love story in there because, that's what we do. That's the formula. But let's get back to the planes.
Yes.
We are now more used to films having a bit more breathing room or taking their time or being more singularly focused, whereas that was just following an 80s movie format.
That's funny, because I can think now that there's a number of movies that you have a lead woman, a lead man, and then at the end, although there's just nothing really that suggested it, they snog.
Yeah, because that's the That's the formula. That's the 80s formula.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, so following on for the YouTube theme, put in the comments anything that you can think of like that. Do you like that?
That's
quite clever,
well done,
isn't it? Because I can think of Running Man.
Yeah.
There's no real connection between her and him romantically. Like they become friends and they fight for a common cause. And then at the end they have a snog. What's that about? There's my example. There's loads. Just
there is, and I think that's what's going on with Top Gun. It's just part of the formula. We need a bit of a sexy scene in the middle because there has to be one. Is there nipple?
I'll stop you there because that is not a sexy scene. That is like two weird tongue-shaped snakes fighting each other. Well, I've never seen that much tongue silhouette in my life.
It does have Boston, you know. Take my breath away. Was it Boston? Yeah, Boston.
Just a lot, too much tongue. I can give the silhouettes. I can live with that, but the tongues were too much.
Well, that's the answer, though, isn't it? It's the formula.
It's the formula.
Look at the run times, though. If you look back over some of those older 80 movies, they're like 90 minutes long, and we've become much more accustomed to, 2 hour, 2.5 hour things going on. Yeah.
Cool. So those were my points that I initially picked up on from a rewatch.
just those two, was it?
Well, those were my main points for consideration. Iceman, is he a knob or is he all right? He's clearly all right. He's clearly just got an older brain on him than the others. They fall in love too quick and too much tongue.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I can't.
The planes are cool.
I can't dispute. They are, yeah, absolutely, they are. So you mentioned the MiGs before. Here's a Chris's dad fact. So the MiGs are called MiG-28s. There's no such thing as a MiG-28. MiG planes are always designated with odd numbers.
Oh.
And these are actually Northrop Grumman F5s that they're flying.
Yes, that's right. This is a nerd podcast.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. My dad is a massive, honestly, aircraft nerdery to the max.
I have to say, the planes don't look that dated.
Well, a number of them are probably still in use, I imagine. These things are built to last.
And which is, from an 80s film of that nature, you'd have thought that rewatching it again, you'd be like, oh my word, look at the state of that. But no, they still look pretty up together. I don't know what that says about the modern air fighting industry.
Who knows?
Who knows? But there was one other thing. Right at the end, so he's won one dogfight, and he's got the top brass has said you can have any job you want.
Yeah, he's like, I'll become an instructor at Top Gun, please.
Yeah. I'm 12. I've not even had my teeth done yet. I'll go and be a top. I'm just going to
tell you what I did notice. Because I'm thinking about that scene at the end where he's in the bar reading the paper, having his beer, and then she puts on the Everly Brothers, and he's wearing these kind of very classically 80s sort of tie-dye, stonewash, like narrow jeans in the bar with his leather jacket. And then on Mission Impossible 4, there's a scene where he gets into his casuals to blend in, and he is wearing, I swear to God, the exact same pair of jeans.
Really?
Yeah. Like Tom Cruise is wearing the same jeans in Mission Impossible 4 that he wore in Top Gun.
It's classic fashion, though. Didn't that jacket, jeans, shades, white t-shirt doesn't age?
No, I suppose not.
Doesn't age. It might not look as good on me as him, but
I'll tell you something I did hear once about Top Gun. It was on like one of those Channel 5, top 10 films of the 80s thing, where they get a load of comedians and stuff to talk about films. And I'm pretty sure, although I may be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure they said on that show that after Top Gun come out, the US Navy had something ridiculous like a 500% recruitment increase. People were just watching Top Gun in the cinema, crossing the road into the Navy recruitment office and joining up, thinking they were going to be the next Maverick, and ended up just some seaman scrubbing a deck for 5 years. which is just something I heard once. I tell you also about Top Gun, something that I always love seeing is two of the characters in it. There's one of the pilot instructors, I've forgotten his name, that flies with Viper, is
Jester.
Michael Ironside. Yeah, Jester, that's right. He's Michael Ironside. And the commanding officer, the ship's captain, is James Tolkien, and those two are just like massive 80s kind of appear in everything guys. James Tolkien specifically, I always think about as the headmaster in
Back to the Future. Yeah.
Yeah.
Slacker.
But everything they do, they're always chewing a cigar, both of them, but it's like the same role.
Yeah.
And they've done the same role literally since like 1980 arrived, and Michael Ironside and James Tolkien just look like old cantankerous men and continue to work as actors who played old cantankerous men even still today.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
And I always like seeing them pair. And I'll tell you a couple of other little kind of actors. So Tim Robbins is Merlin.
So you don't really get to see Merlin that much. I saw his name crop up at the end, and I can't even see him.
Yeah, he's Merlin. I saw him talk about that on Graham Norton. He said, I was in Top Gun, which I think is really interesting. But one of the pilots in the room is a guy called Adrian Pasdar. And did you ever watch Heroes on telly?
Oh, no. No, I watched the first season.
It was the brother who was running to be mayor or the senator or whatever he was.
Ah.
Is it Adrian Pasdar? I want to say Adrian Pasdar, but I'm pretty sure. I didn't go and look it up. And now I've said it out loud. I wish I'd checked on IMDb, but I'm pretty sure is the guy who went on to be in Heroes. He has like one line in the whole film, but he's in every, when they're sat in the lecture rooms and stuff, he's in every scene. Yeah.
Theo from Die Hard is one of the pilots as well. Not one of the. What's the guy who doesn't actually fly? What is Goose? What's his actual name?
Anthony.
Navigator or gunner.
Oh yeah, they call him the ROIs, something like that. ROEs.
Anyway, the computer guy, Theo from Die Hard. He's
the quarterback is
toast. He's Sundance. I noticed him straight away.
Is he? Is he the one who takes the microphone off Maverick in the bar?
Yes,
on singing the Loving Feeling. Yeah,
and he goes in after Goose is dead, and he's like, engage, and he's like, oh, doesn't look good. And that, my friends, is Top Gun.
Great movie. I've literally watched it. I mean, I may be close to the thousands.
Should I pick another movie now? Or
sure. By the way, did you have something in mind?
I had a couple in mind, actually. So let me have a think.
This is going to be the thing, guys. Andy's going to pick the movie or the TV show or whatever for Andy's Retro Corner every single episode.
Yeah. And then we could change it if we get enough people listening. We can maybe look at the comments or something the day after and see. But for now... Right, okay, so you talked about Hard Boiled. So I've got Hard Boiled is one, Ghostbusters.
Oh, I think we'll struggle to find Hard Boiled on any of the streaming services.
I've got it on VHS in the loft. I
might have a DVD. Where's my DVD version? I think I might have it on DVD if you want to do Hard Boiled.
Maybe we'll save that. I think we should let's do Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters, brilliant. Okay, yeah, can do.
We'll do Ghostbusters. That was my initial idea. Then you threw me off topic because I've not seen Hard Boiled for ages and I want to watch it now.
But we're right on top of Halloween. In fact, our next episode will be close to Halloween, so that's even better. Ghostbusters 1. But if we get time, we can dip into Ghostbusters 2, the real Ghostbusters, and we can talk about all things Ghostbusters, including toys, role-playing games, which I got back in the 80s, which was very exciting, and everything else. I was a massive Ghostbusters fan, mate. Really, were you? Well, that's
huge.
I wasn't big, so you might have to fill in the random nerdy stuff.
Cool. And there we go. There's my retro corner, and we're an hour in.
Brilliant. Okay, let's get on to the next segment then. Right, okay then. Well, I hope you enjoyed Andy's Retro Corner. It's now time for Chris's Comic Book Corner. Woo!
Woo.
Maybe I've actually got... Hang on.
Is that an actual comic book?
Oh, was that you beeping or me?
That was me. It's my work phone. Shh.
Oh. Never mind that. Yes, Chris's Comic Book Corner. And we're kind of going to follow the same pattern as we're following with Andy's Retro Corner, whereby, as I said in the intro, Andy is less of a comic book fan than me, so I'll set him the challenge of reading probably a collection, a trade paperback collection, and we'll come together and talk about it in a not too dissimilar way, I suppose, than what we've just talked about in terms of a movie or whatever retro thing Andy's chosen for his Retro Corner. And for the first episode, I have to confess, I sort of threw you right in at the deep end.
Yes, you did.
Would you like to tell the listeners what I challenged you to read?
I read The Watchmen.
The Watchmen, that's right. There will be people there going, whoa, steady on. Well, I knew you were up to the task.
Yeah.
Point one.
I can read.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But also, I think if one of the driving forces behind this is about me sharing my favourites and the comic books that made me really fall in love with it as a medium, then you have to start at the beginning. And The Watchmen really is the beginning of modern kind of graphic novel style storytelling in the comic book medium. It's considered that and the Dark Knight Returns are considered like the ones that kicked off a whole new generation of comic books, and I think The Watchmen is probably one of the key influencing factors on a lot of the other ones I'm going to be asking you to read as part of this challenge down the line.
Cool.
So, however, I didn't come prepared with little subtitles. I was just going to ask you how you found it.
Hey, should be prepared. I'm guessing that it was written in the 80s. Would that be right?
Yeah, I think the first issue, it came out as a 12-issue run, and I think maybe 1985, 1986.
Okay. Cool.
But it became really sort of famous when they collected it into the graphic novel.
I really liked it. The things I like the it dots around in time quite a bit. It does a lot of flashbacks.
It does, yeah.
And you get the feel of the 50s and 60s, 70s and 80s. I can't explain how it did it, but you could feel the decade you were in, probably because it told you, but you got that feel from the storyline. You went back, you didn't get confused about what was happening. You knew when you went back or went forward. And I like that. It's dark. It is dark. It's really dark.
It is dark.
I mean, I wasn't expecting to read about rape within the first couple of well, not quite pages, but I wasn't expecting that from a comic book that he chose for my first one. But it is there. The characters are massive, like we said about the boys in the intro. The characters are very well thought out, very deep. I need to go back and read through because at the end of each kind of comic book, there's a big old chunk of text and writing, be it a newspaper article or someone writing about their past. Really, really thematic bits that goes more into their background, which I read the first few, then I skipped past because I wanted to get on with the storyline.
It's the under the hood. It's the autobiography of what's his name, Hollis, the original
Night Owl.
Who he obviously goes and has those catch-ups with, and what happens. Yeah. It's his autobiography, the one that revealed the comedian's sexual assault. That they reference it through the course of the story. And
because I thought when I started reading it, I thought it was a bit of bio about the author. And so, because there's a whole story, little story at the start about his childhood, and then he goes, I started being a dressing up and fighting crime, and I was like, okay, so the author actually did that. And then after probably longer than it should do, I realised that it was part of the characters, right?
It was part of the characters, yeah. So it's Alan Moore's the guy who wrote it. I mean, he's a big name in comic books.
I mean, the characters are all really, they're different, they're well thought out. You follow each of them. I thought that we were going to just follow how do you say his name?
Rorschach.
I thought we were just going to follow him, but then you dot around a bit, which is nice. He's cool. I mean,
Is he though?
he's proper mental, but I did
He's
like
thoroughly unpleasant.
he's horrible. But his look, like the mask and his trench coat and his, it's not Stetson, it's Trilby. The character looks cool. Whether inside he is a different matter.
Alan Moore quite often he feels that one of the biggest failures of the comic book, and he names a few, he's very critical of his own work, is that people misunderstood Rorschach. And there's a quote knocking around somewhere in one of the interviews he did where he said, like, people come up to me and talk about they feel like Rorschach feels, and he says that's concerning. You shouldn't be, he's not supposed to be. Yeah, he's not supposed to be a nice character. You know, what he represents is not what I think you think he represents. But it's really interesting because that's one of the things that people talk a lot about Watchmen is that author intent and what Moore and Gibbons were trying to do differs greatly sometimes to reader interpretation. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose, well, the thing is, once it's out there, then they don't really have any ownership or control over it anymore. Anyway.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm pretty sure the guy who wrote Top Gun is actually a very cutting and incisive commentary on the political Cold War climate of the mid-'80s, for sure.
How bizarre, because they're both about mid-'80s conflicts with.
They are actually, yeah. Not by design, folks. That's a happy accident. Random. I was about to say, yeah.
So yeah, it goes into it. So like you go into bits. Like it's an alternate history, isn't it? So you're looking at, and you went into things like the Vietnam War. That was quite cool having superheroes, especially that Miss Doctor Manhattan smashing face in the Vietnam War. But yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was really dark and a bit sinister. I thought that there was a big chunk in the middle where it slowed down.
Okay, sure, yeah.
As it started off,
I can see that.
There's a pace to it at the start, and things happen. I won't spoil things for anyone. And then it kind of dipped a bit, and there was a little bit of time where nothing really happened, and then it kind of kicked in for the last probably 4 or 5 different comics within the series.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I've read it that many times that I think I've reached the point where I probably do sort of skim through sections now, knowing what they're covering. I don't really remember the first time I read it, whether I observed that or not. I imagine if you're reading it like at a point of original publication, if you were picking up an issue a month, waiting over 12 months to complete this, what is a very epic story unfolding in front of you. And you're like, oh, for God's sake, tell us less about this pirate and his black freighter. But when you see it in the collected trade paperback, that all kind of ties together better, I think. But I could absolutely, can you imagine if you felt like it was sagging a bit in the middle while you were reading the collected edition, how it must have felt to someone back in the 80s reading it month by month.
Was it monthly?
It is dark. Monthly, yeah, 12 month. It was what they call a maxi series, a 12 issue.
Yeah, that'd do my head in.
Yeah. That'd be a challenge, but that's what I'm saying. Is that it's such a significant book because it started that whole. I mean, we take it for granted. It's very normal in the world of comic book readership now. In fact, I only ever read trade paperbacks. I'm not really much of a fan of reading stuff month in, month out. But it started that whole trend of it kind of made comic books in that collected edition way more literary. In fact, it has. It's been like on New York Times, not just top 100 comic books or whatever, but in the top 100 books ever, kind of thing. It's
wow.
And Time magazine and stuff. But you're right, it is dark, and I did drop you in at the deep end on it. But I just felt like that is that comic book, The Watchmen, is such a huge influence on many of the other stuff I like down the line. And you'll observe that or not. We'll see what comes of this little challenge, but I'm really fascinated by that. Let's have a look at the heroes from a different angle. Let's have a look at these other aspects of being a hero, and are these heroes really heroes if they're human?
Yeah.
And if they're not human, do they cease to be heroes? And this is a theme that comes up again and again and again and has continued since the Watchmen to be explored in comic books. In fact, funnily enough, I mentioned before, Alan Moore's very critical of his own work, and he actually considers one of the it a bit of a failure because it has created this legacy. It's been such an inspiration for so many other comic book creators that he's bothered by that. He's actually like, oh man, I've just created 40 years of dark, gritty explorations of the human condition through the superhero medium. God damn it. Because he's actually a massive believer in comic books being about diversity, diverse ways of telling stories. One of his most famous books is like this weird, erotic, I couldn't even finish it. It was like out there, like a Indian Kama Sutra thing that he did.
Oh, Christ.
V for Vendetta was one of his, actually. You might have seen the film.
I think I have. I can't remember it, though. Add that to the list. I
had to kind of start you at that point of inspiration, I suppose.
Yeah, it was something that I picked up, that they were just, other than the big blue guy, they're all just human beings. They're not like Night Owl's got a load of tech and stuff, and one of them's really clever, but they haven't been bitten by a spider. They haven't come down from a different planet. They've not been hit by one of them has, but, not been hit by a bomb and going green. So they haven't got superpowers other than the Dr. Manhattan one. Would I be right in saying that? So they are just like average Joes, just putting on a costume and beating the shit out of people who commit crime.
Yeah, there's some indication that maybe the comedian's got superhuman strength. And there's something with Adrian Veidt as well. Veidt, however that's pronounced.
Is intellect.
Yeah, but Dr. Manhattan is, you're right, the only one who's kind of super powered from that accident. Yeah, and you're right. And what's also interesting is it kind of questions their motivations for being heroes as well. Because they're just human, and so you get these little scenes like Night Owl and the Silk Spectre saying, all the attention and, oh, wasn't it terrible? But there's kind of a bit of a moment where they sort of sigh and go, was it so terrible? I kind of love the attention. What was I actually doing it for and stuff? And, that these people, what drives them, what motivates them. And it's not because, like comic books traditionally, you acquire a superpower from from some event and you feel a responsibility to be a hero. And to do the right thing. But in Watchmen, they don't feel that responsibility. Their motivations are like Rorschach. You could be argued that his motivations are just because he likes violence. Yeah. Like just walks into a bar and starts breaking a random guy's fingers
for
to
fun.
Acquire information. Yeah, but there's no grounds for him to, I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but there's no grounds for him to assume that anyone's got any information in there. He's just committing a violent act. On the off chance that someone's got some information for him, and like the hero, and of course what happens at the end, which again we won't spoil, but then you have to question: is it a heroic act in an unheroic way? Because they are flawed, and therefore they've gone about it in a flawed way.
Yeah. I watched the movie as well. That sticks.
Oh, okay, sure.
Sticks very closely to the.
It does, yeah.
To the storyline in the comic book. Although I will say that the ending is different.
It is, yeah.
I'm not sure why that was chosen, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But if you've seen one but not the other, they're different but similar in the same way. And there's less pirates in the film.
That's right. Although what they did do is they produced a cartoon version of that that came as a special feature on the Blu-ray.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Cool. I wasn't a massive fan of those bits.
No, I mean they are. I mean, there's a parallel story. There's obviously a connection going on there, but again, in the effort to keep it spoiler free, we'll not
delve too deep into that. But yeah, definitely worth a read. I'm interested to see what you've got in line for me next. Maybe something a bit lighter, maybe not. Who knows?
Is that a backdoor request?
No,
maybe something lighter, or
hear me. Whatever you think is, whatever you want. But I have to say that I did thoroughly enjoy it. Obviously, have some knowledge of comic books and stuff, so I wasn't completely shocked, but enjoyed it. It's definitely good. I can see why it's such a well-regarded bit of writing, if you can call it that. And there's a lot of good, positives about it. The characters, the storyline, the whole kind of look back at history. They're good. Worth a read. If you've not, check it out.
Check it out, yeah. Brill. All right. Well, would you like to know what your next one's going to be?
Oh, yes, I would.
I have reasons for this one, actually. I mean, it's arguably lighter, I suppose. It's a bit blackly comic.
Okay. You'd be struggling to find something darker, I'm sure.
It's out there. I can find you something darker. But we talked about the Thunderbolts the other day.
Oh yeah,
and you'd read the Thunderbolts. I've been away and read that whole run after your recommendation. Yeah, and you mentioned just in passing, you said, "Oh, the artwork's really on point." And one of the artists who has contributed to the Thunderbolt series that you were talking about greatly is a guy called Steve Dillon, who's a favourite of mine. He's drawn lots and lots of stuff. But also, you mentioned The Boys earlier in this episode, but also just in conversation with me over instant message. So the book that I'm going to ask you to read for this challenge is going to be book 1 of The Preacher.
Ooh, now that's got a TV series, isn't it? Or a film?
Oh, yes, it does, yeah. A TV series on Amazon Prime. But the reason I've chosen it is because Steve Dillon, the artist, was one of the artists who worked on Thunderbolts, and Garth Ennis, the writer, was the guy who wrote the original The Boys.
So it's a recipe for success. It has to be, surely.
Well, that's my hope. But it's also, sticking to theme, one of my all-time faves.
Oh, recommendations coming out your ears. It's got to be good. I've not seen the series, so that'll be exciting. I'll try and get it read and read the series before the next. Read and watch the series as long as it's free, because I'm tight before the next episode.
All right then, yeah, no worries. Right, okay then. So, is this random corner? Is this just where we do a random thing? Because the subject of this next segment is a Facebook post that Andy saw the other day that he wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I can't imagine that we'll get. Oh, we might do, but I can't imagine we'll get many with that. I don't know. Title to be confirmed, or we could just call it to be confirmed. That would be quite good. So I saw a Facebook post it was on a Avengers game group where someone cropped out of the blue and they said, "Who do you think would win in a fight if they could only use their strength between Superman and the Hulk?"
Oh, wait a minute. If they could only use their strength. You didn't say that to me when you pointed this whole thing out.
No, well, that was the post, but we just kind of went for who would win in a fight. Although I think that there is a possible for a different outcome between the two, mostly from what you said when we were discussing it earlier, a few days ago. But that was the post about if they could only use their strength. We went for who would win in a fight between Superman and the Hulk.
Well, I mean, yeah, let's clarify this. You messaged me and said, "I've just seen this post. What do you think? Who would win between Hulk and Superman?" And I was pretty quick with my answer.
Yeah, when you think about it, you say what your answer was, because it's.
I said Superman. Full stop. I said Superman. Full stop. Clearly,
because Superman would just throw him into space.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the example I gave at the time, but because the Hulk is like one thing, he's just well hard. His superpower is just being well hard.
Yeah, that's quite a good superpower.
I'm not saying it's not. But I'm just saying comparably, Superman is also well hard, but he can shoot lasers out of his eyes. He can freeze you with his breath. He can fly. He can fly into space. And therefore I presented the argument that all he'd have to do is kind of get hold of Hulk and take him into space and chuck him into the sun, and it'd be game over.
See, but I don't think the sun would kill the Hulk.
Well, I mean, yeah, I didn't explore it any further than that. This is the whole gamma radiation thing. I can't really comment on. I don't know the scientific gamma radiation relationship with the sun, but he'd probably find it pretty hard to get out of the sun once he was in there, even if he wasn't dead.
Exactly. Because I mean, again, I don't know all of the lore, and I'm sure there are people out there that know it better than me, but I'm pretty sure that didn't the brainiacs of the superhero world. So Reed Richards, Tony Stark, and some other clever ones. Didn't they
It was
send...
Black Panther, Black Bolt, and Professor X, and Namor, the Illuminati.
Is it? Why is this? I don't know much about Namor. Is he quite clever then?
No, I think it was less about intelligence necessarily than it was, although clearly a lot of them are, one of their kind of main character traits is being super clever. I think it was more about power and significance because he's the ruler of Atlantis.
Oh, of course.
And Black Bolt is the ruler of the Inhumans. Professor X is the head of the X-Men. Tony Stark, bigwig in the Avengers. Doctor Strange was in the mix, big deal in the mystical world. So I think it was more about power and influence. Black Panther, Wakanda.
Yeah. So anyway, they threw Hulk into space.
They did.
And then he came back and kicked their ass.
Yeah, he just kind of kept going until he landed somewhere.
Had a gladiatorial fight.
Planet Hulk. Yeah.
Settled down with a wife. She died.
Indeed.
He came back pissed off and kicked off.
Yeah.
So the argument there would be that Space-Man, Superman, would throw Hulk into space and then eventually he'd come back again. It just might take a little bit of time.
Sure. I mean, I can't, but I think if he came back, Superman would just deal with him again.
Just lug him back up there. Like a really big game of tennis.
I told you.
Swing ball. Like Hulk swing ball. Yeah.
Just because you changed your jumper, you're not getting in.
Because I don't think his laser eyes would work on Hulk.
Well, no. I mean, in terms of like getting through the skin and what have you, but Superman's a canny fella, He's bright. And that was another kind of part of my argument, I suppose, is that when Hulk is, I mean, not always, but largely speaking, because there'll be somebody out there who goes, well, actually, when he was Bruce Banner and the Hulk at the same time. But largely speaking, he's kind of consumed by his rage, and he's not much of a thinker, is he?
A thinker.
Yeah. Whereas Superman, maintains, his compass mentis, and he's bright as well as being well-hard.
Yeah. They've both, in the little knowledge I have, they've both been beaten. Like, I watched Ragnarok and Thor gave him a bit of a pasting, and then Thanos obviously gave him a battering where he didn't want to come back out of Bruce Banner in the MCU. In the is it DCU? Although there's so many different DCUs, it's the DCMU, the DC movie universe. Like, Superman died, didn't he? Spoiler, massive spoiler.
Yeah, well, Superman dies in the comic books, actually, and it could be argued that the character of Doomsday, who was the person that defeated him in the very famous Death of Superman storyline from the 90s, was a bit of a kind of Hulk-like character. Like a big,
very Hulk-like.
The whole thing about Doomsday was all he could think about was death and violence, and he just wanted to destroy and consumed by rage, which is very much a Hulky kind of thing. So it could be argued that. Yeah, I'll concede that point. I'll take that. Yeah.
I'll get that. Although, I'd say that Hulk isn't quite as maniacal as that. Sun is getting low, big guy.
Yeah.
He's
in fact,
more to him.
Why isn't anyone just giving him, some Rohypnol or something? Or, a decent sedative?
What, like a joint?
We've had Grey Hulk, we've had Red Hulk, we've had Fix It, and now we've got Rasta Hulk. Oh dear,
that would be brilliant.
I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any way to reasonably settle this argument, of course, but it was interesting. I still think that Superman could outwit the Hulk using his wider set of sort of available stuff, and by staying his head more strategic and in the game.
Yeah, but on the flip side, Superman has got an Achilles heel, being kryptonite.
Kryptonite, true, yeah.
Whereas Hulk, I can't think of one that he's got. So it might be that in the long game, it might be that he's playing Hulk swing ball for decades, but eventually Hulk might get his hands on some kryptonite and manage to turn the tide. It might be a very long game, though.
Sure. Funny story, actually, mate. Hulk's weakness actually is his heel.
Is it?
Yeah, he's got this little bit of kind of cracked skin that's been bothering him for a while.
I thought that was actually true.
He's been, trying to file it down with one of those file things.
Okay, I was thinking they'd never reference that in the movies.
Can't find himself a decent podiatrist. He's got a chair big enough for him to sit in while they check it out.
Yeah, that's gonna be hard.
True story.
Does in the comic books, does he get like he does in the movie? Like where he's basically Bruce Banner in Hulk's body?
Yeah, I mean, there's been lots of, again, like many of the other comic books that we talk about, there's been decades of this stuff going on. So there's been all sorts of twists and turns, and there's definitely been moments where he's been like Dr. Hulk.
Like Doc McStuffins.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, fixes your toys and goes for dinner.
Doc Hulk is in. All right, so you're going Superman, I'm going Hulk.
Yeah. All right, over to you now then, audience. Comments below. Who'd win in a fight, Hulk or Superman? I don't know where else to go with this.
I think we wrap it up there.
Yeah, although we are going to do this debate again next week because off the back of this, we ended up having another discussion, didn't we? Are we going to throw this one out now?
Yeah, go on. I can't remember. What was it that we said?
All right, so it's my contention that Jack Bauer would beat John McClane.
No, that's such a load of bollocks. John McClane. Jack
Come back
Bauer.
in 2 weeks to hear our arguments on that one. Okay then, folks. Well, thanks for coming along. We hope you enjoyed the first episode of MoDX. Yeah, we got into a bit more of a groove, although it's possibly longer than we might have liked. So let us know. Do you want them shorter? Is the length all right for you? What's the script there? But we're coming back in 2 weeks. So come back 2 weeks from now for the next episode. I don't think there's anything else really to say right now, is there? We don't have all contact us stuff at this minute.
No, we don't. If you do want to get in touch with us, then check out the Ministry of Dice on Facebook. You'll see loads of Dice Master stuff. If you're not into it, apologies. We'll try and set something up, but you can get hold of us there. I'd be interested to know what you thought about the length. Should we be shorter? Should we be longer? I mean, we could talk about this for hours, but if it's boring, apologies for the intro. We were stuttery a little bit trying to get into our groove. We'll work on that for the next one and try and tighten things up to the professionalism that is renowned by the
standard, to the standard that people have come to expect from us. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Although possibly not you guys. You might be listening to us for the first time. So there we go. Come back in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, I've been Chris.
And I've been Andy.
That's been MoDX. Need to work on a finish.
Yeah, definitely need to work on a finish. Bye.
All right, yeah, that was a bit rusty.
Well, yeah, isn't it? Well.
Well, there's only one way to break the rust off. That's just to keep going.
I thought you were going to just say good editing.
No, well, I'll do my best.
Nah.